in LA. This is the NLA.
I'm Penny Strings, like you said. I run an Instagram account. I started in college. I'm at around 11,500 followers now. Gearhead, stringing, and so yeah, that's a little bit about me. We could talk more about that, but today I'm interviewing Channing Thomas, top 5 overall draft pick in the NLA Pro, NAIA All-American, Norwalk native. We're just going to go through some questions. I got some rapid fire stuff for you guys. And so the first thing I want to kick it off with you is maybe not some of the questions, but just some of our connections, Channing, which I'm not sure if you know any of this stuff, but you're a Norwalk guy. And I played with a guy named Sean Largay at New England College. He's older than you. He was probably a senior and you were a freshman, but played with AJ and Mike. You played against him? Yeah. And so we played also with AJ and Mike Yaturo. Who are the older guys, and then I actually just last week I played with Tyler Hiller, who was another guy from Norwalk down in New Orleans. Jeremy Mowry, was he at Herkimer when you were there?
Yes, well, he was there year before I got there, but I actually visited the year he was there, so I actually got to meet him.
Yeah, so he played against me in high school from Johnstown, and then your goalie Chris Smith, he actually is a college teammate of mine. He was there for his freshman year at New England College, and then he transferred to, I think he went to Montclair for a minute, and then has moved on. So I know, those are some of the connections that we have. While we've never played together, those are some of the guys that our circles are kind of overlap a little bit. Lacrosse is so small, and that kind of leads me into my first question is, with the lacrosse world being so small and it's still growing. People think that where we're from in New York and Connecticut, that it's exploding, but there are places that aren't as developed in those states as others might think. And so how did you find lacrosse? Where'd you pick up a stick? Who got you into it?
So the way I got into lacrosse, my cousins actually originally played. They were from Connecticut. They lived up in Danbury.
Okay.
This was actually like in middle school, I want to say. I went up to their house, and they had lacrosse sticks. We were just playing a catch outside. My mom comes, we're leaving. She's like, yeah, they told me I could keep the stick. So I take the stick home. I never officially started playing lacrosse, but I just have this lacrosse stick and a ball. So I'm outside just hitting the wall. Just doing things that I don't even know, like, is actually helping my game to an extent. So then once I get to high school, I was a basketball player my whole life. I get to high school, lacrosse was big in my high school, and I was like, hey man, I want to play the sport. I feel like I could be pretty good at it. They're looking for a bunch of guys. They had a freshman team at my school, so it was pretty easy just to pick up the game and start playing, and it was history from there.
And that's Norwalk, right? You guys are the Green Wave, right? Is that what it is? Am I right?
So we actually have 2 high schools in Norwalk.
Okay.
It's Norwalk High School, and then it's Brian McMahon. So I went to Brian McMahon, and then like Sean Largay, Tyler Hiller, AJ
Toros, yeah.
Went to Norwalk High. So that's why I was kind of like, I played against them. They're kind of like rivals, but no, it's funny because we all play like in the men's league now sometimes as well. So
that's awesome. Yeah, Sean is one of my closest lifetime long friends. So and so obviously as a young kid picking up the stick, right, playing, and like you said, just doing random things on the wall, realizing that you were maybe making your game better without even knowing it. As you started to develop and start to ratchet down, like you didn't pick defense, I'm assuming, first. Probably started with a short stick, right, like everybody does, and then eventually worked your way, probably being athletic and the basketball background, a lot of similarities. Who did you start to kind of emulate your game after? Who did you watch on TV or YouTube that showed you, like, this is who I want to be as a defender, and this is what I'm going to take with it? Could be basketball, could be lacrosse.
So my idol, the guy I emulated everything after, was Gordon Murray at Maryland. It's so funny because he had an Inside Lacrosse interview, and they just talked about how he was a basketball player, picked up the game super late. And I started with a short stick. I started with playing midfield, and I just felt super uncomfortable. I went on .com website, ordered a depot like the next day. Then I just tried to put that basketball defense that I had into lacrosse. And that's pretty much what he said in the interview. He said, I just translated what I knew from basketball right into lacrosse, and it helped him excel. So I watched a lot of him, watched a lot of Maryland highlights, Michael Earhart, super, super big Terps fan.
And that's funny. So how did you, being Connecticut, how did you gravitate to the Terps? Because obviously there's a lot of D1, D2, D3 programs in our area. It's pretty densely populated, but you went all the way down to College Park to find some players.
Yeah, I don't know. It was just something that drew me. I guess they're winning as well, so you got to love a winning team. I was kind of new to the sport, so I didn't really know much about who is who and what was what. But then I kind of heard this story about Gordon Murray. You know, he grew up in a single Black family household, picked up the game late from Pennsylvania, and then goes down to College Park. He's a ACC All-American, or, you know, all that, you know. What was he, freshman of the year, I think?
Yeah, he was a freak.
Yeah, so I was just like, wow, that's exactly who I want to be. So.
Yeah, there's another guy, I don't know if you've heard this name before either, but Jack Riley out of Johns Hopkins. He would have been 2011, like 2014. He was a basketball player up at Niskayuna, and he actually only picked up a lacrosse stick as a junior in high school. Similar build, 6'3", minority in lacrosse, and then as a junior plays at one of the top programs in the state, and now had a full ride to go to Hopkins in just 2 years using the same kind of ideology of like basketball translate. How can I make this smart? It's not a new sport. It's the same thing. Only have a pole in my hand, and I can hit people. They don't have fouls. Like exactly. I can actually, I can impede them purposefully, and nobody cares.
Yeah, it's just like you got to shuffle your feet, and now I'm able to push you now. So it's just the same concepts, and so it was super easy for me to pick up. It's just, you know, it's just the stick skills. You know, you just got to be able to hit the wall, ground ball, stuff like that. I think that was my biggest downfall at first, but I was able to pick that up, you know, a few years down the road.
That's awesome. And so, you know, talking about the young man starting to play lacrosse, taking your basketball, you know, IQ, translating to lacrosse field, playing in Connecticut, right? You can think about Case Mathias, who's like a guy that nobody seems to think about now, but when I was growing up, he was the guy at Darien, right? He was at Duke, won 2 natties, like killed it. Who was your toughest cover out of the Connecticut area, or maybe in your travel lacrosse, just in high school alone?
Case Mathias.
Yeah, you get the cover. So when you would have matched up him, he was like when you were a freshman?
I was a sophomore. My second year ever playing organized lacrosse. I got that matchup starting the game. You know, he made me stumble at the midfield line. I drugged me all the way out to the midfield line, tried to guard him out there. One split and go, had me on my heels. But that game, it was just a totally different pace. Like, I just didn't understand it. And like, I had to get subbed out at one point and like calm down. I had to switch the matchup. It was just too much for me at the time.
But Case is also like 5'9", 5'7", and you're 6'3", right?
Yeah, he was super.
Yeah, I mean, you gave up a ton, right? And everything.
Yeah.
And he was obviously he's a beast. Yeah, I think people forget about those Duke games, like Duke, and obviously when it was Miles Jones, because he obviously kills it in the PLL, but they had Justin Gutterding and Jordan Wolf. I mean, like that was the era of Duke lacrosse was insane for guys. And so talking about college teams and, you know, those guys, Miles Jones and Duke, and obviously those are top programs, you actually went a different route than a lot of those guys that went right out of high school, which I think lacrosse is kind of an underrated route. You hear about the OCC guys like Jeremy Thompson and stats, but you went JUCO first, right? Was Herc was a JUCO at the time you went, right? Or was that a D3 school? They're still JUCO then? Because now they're a D3 school.
No, they're still JUCO.
So JUCO, I thought they were making the transition. Anyway, nonetheless, perfect. Anyway, segue. You went JUCO, you went to Herc, and then you transitioned out. Can you tell me just kind of like a little bit about your recruiting process, why you chose JUCO over straight to D3 or D2, things like that?
Well, the reason actually why I chose JUCO, so originally when I left high school, I played basketball. So my first year, I went to California on a basketball scholarship at NAIA school, Pacific Union College. And it was just because I felt like that was a better opportunity that I had. I didn't have a lot of looks lacrosse-wise. I had a few, but just financially, it just kind of worked a little bit better for me to go out there. Have some family out there as well. But just didn't work out there. I had a few buddies that went to Herkimer that year, and I had a few buddies that were going to go the year after. So they're like, you need to play lacrosse again. Come back to the East Coast. The head coach for the Herkimer team is actually from Norwalk, Connecticut. So he's recruiting all these Norwalk guys to come up. So it's about 6 to 7 guys from Norwalk on this one team. So I'm like, all right, I kind of, this is a calling. I got to go back over there. I got to play lacrosse again. So once I talked to the coach, he said, yeah, I know who you are. I've been trying to get in contact with you. So I made a roster spot there.
That's awesome. And then obviously you transfer, and just kind of my background, my day job, actually, I work for NCSA, which I'm not sure if you saw that at all in your recruiting realm, but largest network in the world for college coaches. So recruiting is my day-to-day life. I talk to athletes all day about it. And in other sports, it's so common, right? Basketball, it's super common. If you can go straight up D1, take a PG year, or you can go JUCO and save a year. Football, obviously, is an incredible amount of JUCO guys, but lacrosse, I think, you have the OCCs of the world, and now you have the Howard Community Colleges and the Genesees that are getting, more notoriety. But there are a lot of opportunities out there like Herkimer. And back in the day, people don't know that Herkimer used to be insane. Herkimer used to be the premier team, premier team. If you were playing JUCO lacrosse, you went there. And so talking about, JUCO, and again, you actually went to 3 schools. So how did you find success doing that kind of stuff, right? Because it's not easy to join a locker room as a new guy, especially even new guy's a sophomore, new guy's a junior, new guy hasn't played lacrosse, took a year off in California playing lacrosse. How did you find success with the locker room, and then obviously on the field, becoming an NAIA All-American and things like that?
So I think it was just me being super cold and just being open about everything. I'm a big sponge. I love exploring, so I never had a problem, traveling and meeting new people and experiencing new things. That kind of intrigues me, So I loved going into a new locker room, meeting new people, new coaches. So yeah, once I got to Herkimer, it was a little bit easier for me because I had guys that I went to like high school with. I had a few buddies that I went to middle school with on this team. So I had roommates that I actually knew before going there. So I was very comfortable in my position, which I think helped me excel more because I was so comfortable. And then, I think I didn't mention it before, but yeah, I did transfer to Kaiser. You said that, but transfer down to Kaiser, which is in West Palm. The funny thing is a few guys from my Herkimer team transferred down to Kaiser as well. So this is a new program that just started up. Their first year was my freshman year at Herkimer. So the year that I went to Kaiser was the second year as a program. So it was a bunch of guys from Herkimer, all over Canada. So, it was just one melting pot. We're all doing the same thing, So right. I think that's kind of what made it easier for me. There's a bunch of guys experiencing the same thing, working towards the same goal.
Yeah, why NAIA over a JUCO opportunity, or over an NCAA opportunity or an MCLA opportunity?
I was talking to a few NCAA schools. I was actually pretty close to going to Jacksonville, just didn't work out financially. I still wanted to be in Florida. Had a few buddies that were already committed to Kaiser. The coach actually tried to talk to me a few times, put him on the back burner, and then reached out, and he was like, yeah, there's still opportunity for you. Literally reached out in August. Said I needed to go somewhere, and we got something figured out within 2 weeks.
That's awesome. That's huge. And, again, I'm thinking about college. You got a couple different teams, basketball. Maybe we'll switch it to kind of just sports in general. And everybody always asks the question, what's your most memorable? I don't want to ask that question. I want a question. I got one in my own head that I think about that makes me laugh all the time. What is the moment in your playing career, on the court, on the field, wherever, where you think back and go, why did I do that? It makes you cringe to think that you're such a good player, such a smart player, but you did this play and you're like, that is the dumbest thing I could have done. You got one you can think of?
I'd have to say this will go back to high school. Under Armour All-American tryouts, All-Star game. I made the All-Star game. playing defense. I go over the head at GLE. Go over the head at GLE. I'm playing a great game. Awesome game, killing it. Over the head at GLE, dude scores. I don't end up making the team. I go to so my head coach, it's Mike Epstein, big lacrosse name in the area. But he was my teacher as well. First period, I go into school. He's like, I heard you went over the head. That's why you didn't make the team. So I was like, what? Like the word
crazy.
So fast. And like I just knew that I fucked up. Like I was like, oh my gosh. But yeah, I still think about that to this day.
I have a worse one. I was a senior in college and we were playing East Con and we had the lead. We were going to go man up at half and I'm sitting at the midline with the referee going to take the ball in, no face off and get it at half, and I just had the ball on my stick. And like, just as the horn sounds, I like dump it off, on the ground, but no possession. And we had to face off at the half.
Oh.
Just completely like sitting there, no pressure, right? Nobody was guarding me. Like everybody knew it was going to happen. I knew it was going to happen, but like in the moment, I just kind of like, instead of making the ref take out of my stick, I don't know. I just dumped it on the ground. I ended up going on to lose by 1. And I'm thinking in my head, like, wow, we had possession. We could have won that game. Such a bonehead play. Now, every time as a coach, I'm always like, make the referee take the ball out of your stick. That's it, period. Don't cradle it. Don't run around with it. If they don't pressure you, just stand there and make the ref physically take the ball out of your stick. And so, I wanted to make sure I got a bad memory because everybody talks about the good times, but there are a lot of funny plays that happen when you're playing all over the place and all over the world, I guess, for you, right? Because you're also on Team Jamaica.
Yes. So I've been on the training team for a few years. I actually didn't get to make it out to Israel. So I'm hopefully gonna make that official roster this year.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool. And so, I got to think about it just because for me, my heritage is all I know is U.S., right? Like I don't have any sort of ties or pride in a different country, right? But obviously for you get to represent Jamaica, which means that you have lineage there. What is it like, even though you haven't necessarily made it to the national stage yet, keyword yet, what does it feel like when you're competing and you're putting on your colors with, guys, well, a lot of guys that are from Jamaica, right? But also a lot of guys that are from the U.S. that have that same heritage, right? What does that feel like preparing for a game to represent your colors for your, I guess, your home nation or whatever?
No, it's a different feeling. So like I was actually able to put on our colors one time. It was our first ever international event. We played in the box tournament up on the red ones. So like I got to do that and it was surreal. It was just like something out of a movie. I felt like I was in Cool Runnings, Like,
yeah, right.
So it's amazing though. And I just can't wait to see where it actually goes. I just believe that Jamaica has such high ceiling for lacrosse. And I think we're just tapping into it right now. So this next year, and then hopefully for the Olympics in 2026, I think if we make a big splash, I think we could turn some heads.
Well, I think it's great for the growth of the game, right? And obviously, Uganda has their own team, and again, really, the reality is maybe people know this, but the U.S. really for a long time subsidized the World Games. While they were representing their colors, some countries are a little bit more loose on. They maybe have 7 home country guys, and they have to fill the roster with 13 U.S. second or third generation citizens, connections. And, you see Uganda, full Ugandan roster, obviously China and Japan, and obviously Canada and Ireland. And now you're starting to see countries that once needed some support, turning it into like, we actually don't want any, we don't care if your grandma did live, over in Ireland. We want to keep it as pure as possible for, people that live there. And I think, like you said, your ceiling is super high, right? Just seeing how you guys performed. I've seen you guys play on, showcases and things like that when they have on YouTube. And like, I think you agree if Jamaica can do it, right? Then it pushes maybe other countries, that are going to think about, maybe we could do it, but we can't. Kind of evolutionizes the sport a little bit, especially for the second level of lacrosse as far as, national rankings go. And so for you, obviously, you did the basketball, didn't work out, JUCO, then you go Herkimer, then NAIA, Jamaica, but you also just recently got added to a college Division III roster as far as assistant coach goes, right?
Yes, sir. Yeah. So I'm a graduate assistant right now. So actually still in school, working on my MBA, and I'm an assistant coach as well. So last year got to be the defensive coordinator. Got to switch it up this year. I'm the offensive coordinator. We just got our first win of the season yesterday. Actually,
congratulations.
First game. So super excited.
Yeah, a good one too, right? So I mean that's awesome. And so you're actually going to play. I was looking at the roster. You're going to play at Hudson. There's a conference rival of mine that we used to play way up in Maine, which they have some beautiful facilities, but it's a hike. So good thing they're coming to you guys.
They're coming down for their spring break.
That's awesome. That's great.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you're talking about, again, you've got a lot of different opportunities. I mean, it's awesome that you've done basketball, you've done JUCO, you've done NAIA, and now you're coaching a D3 roster. So you've got to see a lot of the different layers of sports and lacrosse. One thing's true though, right? The only way you have a team is you got to recruit. Mm-hmm. And so for you, I don't know how much as a GA, I'm assuming you have to do a lot of recruiting at the D3 school. Budgets aren't huge. Mm-hmm. For the guys that are going to watch us that are younger or looking to get recruited, what are you looking for, as a coach when you walk on to the field to watch a team? What are you looking for to the guys that you're going to recruit or maybe guys that are flying under the radar, that things they would do that would put them on your list to talk to or get a hold of?
For me, it's that killer mentality. Like you just see it in that kid that just hunts everything down, who just doesn't stop on plays. Just being out there, just trying to be the best player. I'm not taking plays off. Especially in these summer tournaments, it's time to have fun. You're with your buddies and stuff out there. So I want them to have a good time, but know when there's like college coaches on the side where you want to be in that college process. So like if you want to be at a high Division I, you have to be absolute killer mindset, because that's all they're going to be taking. As a Division III program, we're a newer program. This is our 5th year of the season. So, the things that we're recruiting are coachability, people who are trying to make a difference in our program, people who want to come to a school and start something new. You want to be a part of that first conference championship, some type of things like that. But, it's very different in all the realms. But at the end of the day, I believe being coachable and having that killer instinct is very important.
Awesome. I think I agree. And I would say this. So what year did you graduate high school then? You took a couple years. So you 2012 or 2013?
2014.
2014. So you're 2 years younger than me. I'm a 2012 high school grad. It's only been a short time. I've been coaching for 10 years, I guess, since I was basically in high school still in the summer for travel teams. I personally have seen a tremendous change in the way that you have to communicate and coach up athletes. I think back in the day, the hard-nosed coaches, it was either, next man up mentality. I'm going to coach you super hard. Everybody's on the same playing field. Yeah. I wanted this conversation was for you a little bit longer, but obviously I want to know what you've seen change. And my thing is, I've had a player ask me, like, Coach, you coach me differently than you do so-and-so. And my response is yes. I feel that now as coaches, given the situation that we're in, coaching is so individualized because different players are dealing with different things and they require individual attention, where I think maybe 30, 40 years ago, one coach, with everybody, everybody says you're on the same playing field, it's level. But I don't think now the different things you're involved in that it's the same. So for you, have you seen a change, obviously, from your playing days? And I don't know how much coaching you got to do when you're younger, but now recruiting kids and coaching them now. Have you seen a change in their personality, their mentality, the way they can handle criticism, things like that?
Definitely. Definitely with the criticism part. Like, I feel like it was very hard-nosed earlier. A few years ago, especially when I was in high school, my head coach, super hard-nosed, old, gritty type of guy, get in your face type of guy. But I was responsive to that. Like, that made me a great player. Nowadays, it's more, kind of more comfort, arm around the guy, but not necessarily. Like, so my coaching philosophy is mentor first, coach second. And as you said, you gotta coach each kid different. So, it's mentoring each kid differently. Every kid is different. So you have to be able to give to their needs. So,
Right.
you can yell at some kids, if you yell at them, they will shut down. So, and that's one thing that you can't have on your team, since it's a team sport. Everybody has to be on all cylinders. So you just have to, it's hard, but you just have to be able to fill out your team once you get there. And then I believe once you find that out, kind of how to coach them up.
Yeah, I think you have like 30 different coaching plans for each person. And I always say to my coaches and even to the people I talk to about recruiting when I talk to coaches is you don't get paid to be a coach. Coaching lacrosse is easy. X's and O's, being the sticker, that's easy. You get paid to be a mentor. All the stuff off the field, all the stuff that mom and dad are saying, or, the teammates you have to deal with towards that player that maybe requires a little more attention, and those guys don't understand what's going on that you have insight to. And I love that philosophy, the mentor first, coach second, because I think truthfully at this point, that's really what it is. That's what you get paid for. Because again, coaching's fun. Coaching's easy. It's the other stuff that takes more of your time when you're not in there. So, and so switching gears a little bit, I want to talk through your career. I want to kind of do it chronologically. And so we did some of those things, but, just getting more into you as far as lacrosse related and the things that both of you and I and everybody plays lacrosse has is the uniqueness of a lacrosse stick, right? You can play hockey, you can tape your stick, but you get a curve and it's the same curve. Basketball, obviously, I guess sneakers would be the individualization, but it's not necessarily performance as it is a look. Soccer, same thing. Lacrosse, maybe I'm missing a sport, is really the only sport where your piece of equipment can be exclusively and 100% customizable to you. No one else has that stick. No one else has it strung that way. No one else has the same mesh, that same head. The defenseman, no one else's stick warps the same way that yours does because of the way you check, the way you play, and those things. And so, as a nerd myself and a stringer, what are you using as a player, and what will we be using this season at the NLA?
So as of right now, I have a hammer, and it's on actually a gate ice that I've had for the longest time. I luckily haven't broken yet.
The scandium or the titanium ice? How long would you get it?
The scandium.
Yeah. I mean, that was the best deep pole when I was growing up. The titanium enhanced ice was the best deep pole you could buy. Anyway, so the hammer 900 with the gate ice.
Yep. And my pocket, I love a high pocket. But I've kind of switched. In college, I actually love traditional. I had traditional, and I used to try to string my own traditional, and then it just got too much for me. So actually, my guys at lax.com, they always hook me up. So whenever I kind of need something, I reach out to them, and they usually send me something out pretty quick.
That's awesome. People don't know that lax.com's CEO is from Norwalk, yeah?
Yep.
Yeah, so it's right in there. Actually, another connection is a woman in Frisco who's now the president of the club, and I just strung some sticks for her son who moved down here from Connecticut, and that's what she was saying is that one thing. So you got the hammer 100. Do you use ECD, String King? What's your go-to mesh?
So I've actually switched it up because I wanted to test out. So I was String King before in college. Now I have ECD. So I think the ECD is the way to go as of right now. I've been hearing talks of what is it? Jimbalax making a comeback. I'm not sure though, but
the Mesh Dynasty is who I string all that. So yeah, that's who I usually use. And Jimbalax and the Mesh Dynasty are kind of related in a little way. I'm not sure if I can put that out there, but but they're kind of related in a little way. So that's cool. And for tape wise, what are you doing? Are you taping up halfway? Do you tape it all? How does it work for you?
So I go tape to like where I hold my shaft if I'm like playing defense. And then that's pretty much it. Just one wrap around. When I was in high school, young boy, I used to put like 5 pounds of tape on my stick. Now I just try to keep it as simple as possible.
And so again, talking about lacrosse and obviously individuality of it, and I think as a lacrosse player, the spirituality of it too, right? The creator's game, the gift. Yeah. Obviously, what you guys are doing, with a a minority league trying to, bring more of a presence to the lacrosse community, that there are players out there that can ball, and they maybe don't look like who you played with in high school. And I told, Mr. Johnson this, I did not play with someone of color until I went to college. It was actually Chris Smith, who was the first guy that I ever saw of color play lacrosse. And that's just my reality. I grew up in a 75 kids senior class, tiny town in upstate New York. I had no real cultural experience. But, for me, lacrosse has given me a lot. And, I want to, again, friendships I've never even thought I'd ever have, places I've never even thought I'd go. I credit a lot of it to my wife and us being together because of the timing of me traveling for lacrosse and being able to see her. She went to Lemoyne and Syracuse. And so for you, it can be something as simple as core values, or, like for me, it's a lot deeper. I could spend a whole hour talking to you about my lacrosse story, but for you, what has lacrosse kind of given you or taught you? And maybe just a little bit deeper than maybe a little bit of like hard work ethic and things like that.
I kind of get touchy, but like, lacrosse is literally kind of giving me everything, like lacrosse is putting me in this I am today, and without lacrosse, I honestly don't know where I would be. I grew up in a town where a lot of kids, they don't leave that town, and I've grown up with kids who I still see that haven't left Norwalk. So, if I didn't have lacrosse and, if the basketball thing didn't work out, I could have maybe just been stuck in Norwalk, kind of just doing the same old, but I was able to find my way out, kind of go to upstate New York, experience that, go down to Florida, experience that. Now I'm in Virginia experiencing this. And now my love for the game has just grown so deeply that it's my life now, and I want it to continue being my life. And that's why I'm going to pursue as a full-time coach after I'm done as a graduate assistant. So, without lacrosse, I have no idea where I'd be. So it's giving me literally everything.
Yeah, man, I could not honestly relate more to all of those statements. I'm in Texas now, grew up in upstate New York, New Hampshire, California, Colorado. I mean, I was in New Orleans last week. I mean, like, it's taking you everywhere, right?
Yeah, and then like recruiting as well, like just going all over the country. It's just
food you've never thought you would eat, like places you never thought you'd visit, right? Like just the things that you never thought you'd get to do. I think that, again, lacrosse community is so small too, right? Like right now I can think of pretty much every state where you probably have a kid that you probably played with or coached with, or somebody you can reach out to, like, hey man, I'm coming through, like what's the good spot to eat? Can I crash on the couch? Like I don't, those kinds of things I think lacrosse has given you. And again, we could spend a whole hour talking about lacrosse stories because I think you probably got some good ones, and my life is a lot. I credit a lot to lacrosse, which is why I am so passionate about it, like yourself. And so talking about our impact, and obviously I think that's, as coaches, that's kind of a little bit why I would say why we give back. It's because of how much it's given us. Yes. And we want to have a kid have that same experience. If you could change one kid's life through lacrosse that they would have otherwise never been able to do, I think that it's, super powerful and rewarding, and that's why you coach, right? And probably gets you a little bit emotional. Feel a little bit in my throat, think about all the kids that you've had a chance to touch and to see move on through the sport. But for you, and with the NLA Pro and the coaching and all this stuff, how are you, giving back? I know obviously coaching at the college level is one thing. Is there any other things that you're doing to help the next generation of athletes, the next generation of minorities in lacrosse? How does that look like, and what does it look like for you in the day to day?
I wouldn't say day to day. Back home, I'm actually in an organization called City Lacrosse. And that's in the Norwalk area, Stanford area. Kind of reaching out predominantly to minorities. And just trying to give them an opportunity to play the game of lacrosse and excel. Mike Nazaro, he's the head coach at Stanford High. He's built up the Stanford lacrosse community tremendously. Like his sophomores and freshmen are going to be amazing once they're seniors. And I've been working with them since, they've been in, sixth grade, seventh grade. So just being able to see them kind of grow. But me personally, the way I've been trying to reach, kind of minority aspect is, especially like when I'm recruiting, I want to at least tap into each kid of color that I see play out there. I want to know what they're doing, what's their process, what they're thinking. You know, I want to be that person they could look up to, just how I looked up, you know, to like Gordon Murray and stuff like that. Showing them that, you know, there is professional opportunities in the game of lacrosse, not just playing, but, you know, as a coach, you know, and other aspects of the game, you know, strength conditioning, you know, just things like that. Just letting kids of minority just know that there's an avenue in lacrosse that isn't just football or basketball. You know, you can play this game as well and love it just as much as any other sport, you know. So that's kind of how I'm trying to give back to you know, the minorities with the game of lacrosse.
Yeah, I mean, obviously talking about coaching, I mean, again, I don't know personally. Obviously, you think about the Division 1, 2s, and 3s, there's a lot of schools, but I think of Chaz Woodson at Hampton, right?
Yeah.
And obviously you on a D3 roster, but how many other kids see a coach of color recruiting them in lacrosse?
Yep.
Like, I know that NFL has their own set of issues and that's professional and they talk about that, but like even at the college level and in particular lacrosse, I don't know, and maybe you know better than I do.
It was last year it was like 3% of coaches are color.
It's crazy, right? And I mean, you think about that perspective of athletes, and down here in Texas, the big one's Bridge Lacrosse. David Higbee is an incredible human. They won the Class D state championship last year. They've had a couple kids go to Hampton and do their thing. But again, if you're a kid playing lacrosse, but you don't conversate with people that look like you, I can imagine that when you come up to a kid of color, they probably are like, holy crap, like I can do this thing. Like I can really play and coach.
Their eyes light up because it's like they don't expect that. And it's just like when I was growing up, I didn't talk to a single Black coach at all. So, you know, it's just crazy. And I just love that feeling, just knowing that it just makes them feel a little bit more comfortable.
Your mom and dad, you go to the sidelines and they see you talking to him, and then the kid says, no, who is that? Well, that's Coach Thomas. Coach Thomas who? He coaches D3 lacrosse, he's recruiting for lacrosse. Wait a second, hold on. I can imagine like even that part of it, the mom and dad's comfortability with you talking to those kids.
You should see how hyped they are too. The moms and dads come up to me, especially the dads, like that me up. I'm just like it's amazing feeling. And then just being able to see it all come together, like being able to fully recruit a kid and getting him on your campus and then get him on your roster. Like, that's the greatest feeling. And like just seeing him being able to excel.
Awesome. And you have two, Raphael Walker also is on your staff too. So you got two guys that are there and looking at, which is awesome. Again, like for me, my captain, Will Pendleton, his dad was Black, his mom's white. We played. And again, like I said, for me, I don't have a whole lot of experience with that, but you know, even like his upbringing, what he had to talk about, he's from CB South out of Philly. And so, you know, just having to listen to him, because I'm genuinely interested, right? Because you just don't know. You don't know what the difference is until you're probably like, you get to see it on the flip side of it. Like, could you imagine your 17, 16-year-old self having a coach in lacrosse of color come talk to you? I got to imagine you'd be like,
I'd have been like, I'm coming right away.
I'm in, bro. Whatever you want. What do you do for me? That's awesome. And so talking about, again, we talked about the growth and what you're doing. And obviously talking about maybe the NLA a little bit. We'll foreshadow it. Obviously, it's getting off the ground this year, bumping on social media, doing a lot of awesome stuff. For you, as I guess a founding father of this whole organization, a player anyway, be the OG, right? Eventually, what does that look like? What do you think the lasting impact of the NLA Pro will be, or what do you hope that it will be? You know, not only I think, you know, obviously for minorities, I think it's gonna be awesome. You know, be able to watch leagues like that and have it, you know, organized. People forget about the LXM Pro Tour, which wasn't for minorities, but it had a similar, you know, cultural vibe there. But more particularly, like, it's professional. You know, it's going to be run this way. What do you think that looks like for you guys? Maybe 5 years, 10 years down the road, or what do you hope it'll look like?
I think it's going to just help. Just give people a different perspective of the game of lacrosse. You know, like when people look at lacrosse are like, uh, you know, so when people of color see the game of lacrosse, they're like, oh, it's just a whole bunch of white people out there, playing the game, I want to be able, hopefully I want the NLA to be able to, for people to see it from the outside and say, oh, everybody plays the game of lacrosse. And then when you're able to see it at a professional level, all right, there's professional players of every color playing this game. So now the kids that are watching us know that there's, as I said before, an avenue for them if they want to play professional lacrosse. So I think it's just going to give everybody a totally different perspective of the game, and hopefully just grow it. That's our mission. That's hopefully a mission of everybody that's within the game right now, to grow the game so that it's on the scale of football, basketball. I know it's going to be very hard for that to be, but you got to have some high goals if you want to do something. So
yeah, I mean, in 5 years, you could have a kid playing lacrosse, playing defense, and he's fifth grade saying, I'm Channing Thomas, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's reality, right? I mean, that's the reality of the situation, right? It's no longer going to be like, oh, yeah, you're the Miles Jones, or, and everybody's like, oh, just because I'm black and I'm a midfielder, right? Like, that's the only person that plays lacrosse. There's thousands of kids that do that, but it's not on that national level. And in 5-10 years, it could be, I'm Channing Thomas, I'm going to guard, Justin McKinney, who's a buddy of mine who I played with back in New York, right? It can be that way, and it can be kids having some sort of belonging, and which is really cool to think about from that perspective. Because it's not just people it's not just black people in this league. There's Asian, there's Mexican, there's Puerto Ricans. Like there's a lot of color, a lot of different color, which is so cool. Just because again, kids will be able to actually look up and emulate those players, hopefully, and be like, it's tied back to the impact that the NLA had, in particular you and Mr. Johnson and the whole crew had at growing the game. And so that was kind of the end of my normal questions, our conversation questions. So I was going to hop in the rapid fire ones. Okay. And so I only got like 7 or 8 of them. So they're not, and some of these ones I try to do a little research. This first one's going to be one that is a little bit of research for you, because I saw your college pick look a little bit different now. So are you ready? Flow or tilt?
Tilt.
Fast break. Are you looking off the point, man? Or are you running the break?
I'm running the break.
Oh, is a hot dog a taco?
Oh, no.
Ranch or blue cheese?
Blue cheese.
Best place lacrosse has taken you?
The best place lacrosse has taken me. Going to the res was amazing, and I never was able to go to the res, so that was
I've been there too. That place is an incredible facility. That's insane. Pavilion. Go to pregame song.
Go to Blueprint 2 by Jay-Z.
Best area for lacrosse. New York, Long Island, Connecticut, Maryland, those places.
Connecticut, Fairfield County.
Okay. All right. Best player of all time.
Jim Brown.
Takeaway check or big hit?
Takeaway check.
All right, that's all I got, man. That's all I have. So I don't know if Arthur's close by. He can end it after that, but I appreciate it, man. That was my first time doing the interview thing, so.
Hey, thank you. I appreciate you, man.
Yeah, I was trying, again, I'll like to be as honest as possible with everybody. I didn't want to go, I want to be able to talk to you about stuff, because I'm genuinely interested in being like where I coach now in Plano East. While I used to coach there, we had a kid 2 years ago, Kayvon Hamilton, 6'4", 240, D-end, 3% body fat, got a 4-wide offer to Navy to play D-end there, turned it down, is playing at Pittsburgh State, the Gorillas, in like Iowa or something like that. And
for lacrosse?
No football, but he played defense in lacrosse, right? And so like his idea of lacrosse too, like growing up, is just crazy. And so for me, like it's hard to ask those questions, man. It's like, it's really hard because you don't know who's comfortable having those conversations.
No, yeah,
Because I can't
bet.
relate. And I didn't want to make this whole interview just me asking questions about what it's like to be a person of color in the sport. But,
Mhm.
you know, for me, where I grew up, not that my upbringing, you know, small town, D3 school, like I had a lot of my own kind of hurdles, but it's nothing to relate like that. And so I'm
Mhm.
genuinely interested for you. It is a hotbed. I mean, you're playing in the best kids in the country in high school. I mean, like, you cannot play on a travel team in the summer there without playing the best dudes in the area. And so I genuinely am interested because obviously it worked out for you. And now in
Yeah.
Texas, I have a couple boys, you know, that don't know. Like, he didn't have any clue that lacrosse was an option.
Yeah.
He had no clue. It was football or nothing, right? That's
Mhm.
it. And he didn't realize that lacrosse would give him scholarship opportunities. He didn't realize that lacrosse would give him that. I want to thank Channing Thomas for joining me and NLA Pro for putting us together for this interview. I really appreciate your time. He's balancing training for the season, NBA, college lacrosse coach. And so I do appreciate you for taking the time tonight. And thank you guys for tuning in and joining the interview.
Thank you, Skyler.